New Thought Media Network proudly presents The High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour with Rev Cynthia and Rev Skip. Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the High Vibe Hour. I'm Reverend Skip Jennings, and I am an author, a speaker, a minister, and a grateful friend of my co-hosts.
Oh, I love that, Skip. So I'm Rev Cynthia, and I am his friend.
And she's also an author, a speaker, a minister, a practitioner. Like how perfectly divine for us to come together in this time to create something brand new and exciting.
You know, I was thinking about that, and spirit is always fresh, right? It's always
Oh
wanting
yeah.
to express its newness. So I'm delighted that we are available for it.
Absolutely. You know, it's been a very interesting week, and we're talking about feeling the vibes, and the vibes have been kind of a roller coaster. It's been kind of a roller coaster on the vibes. Got to tell you, I've been having to do a lot of work
Mhm.
around it and watching the news and watching the stock market. You know what we say, and you know what it is? I'm not really watching it, but I
Mhm.
have friends coming up to me going, "Did you hear?" You have people like that in your life that comes up. Did you hear? Because I have friends come. Did you hear about the stock market? I'm going, oh God. Now then, my ego is like, oh, now you need to know, or whatever. Sometimes it's really really good, but when someone says to you, "Hey Rev, did you hear?" you know.
Yeah, but and it's interesting because since COVID happened, um,
Mhm.
I've just really tried not to hear so much.
So maybe I just say, nope, I did not hear, and maybe I don't want to hear. But then how do you do? I mean, because we're both in the public eye, we're both ministers, we're both out there, and we're speakers. It's like maneuvering through this time of, well, okay, what do I need to know?
Mhm.
What do I not need to know? And I was very grateful because I had not heard about the earthquake that happened in Tibet.
Mhm.
I had not heard about it, and someone said, "Did you hear?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go. Did I hear? Did I not hear? Okay, what happened?" And it was a good thing because I literally do not watch the news. I
Yeah.
don't watch it.
Mhm.
It's just we're talking about the high vibe, and we can have a high vibe or a low vibe.
Mhm. It's you we just have to be mindful. I think of Reverend Michael when he's talked about, like, when there's been a depression, and he made a joke from the pulpit saying, "What, did the aliens come down and take all the money? No.
Yeah.
No."
Hey, if y'all don't know who we're talking about Michael Beckwith at the Agape International Spiritual Center here in Los Angeles. I say that always because we have a lot of people who view these after us who have no clue who Agape is, have no clue who Reverend Michael is. So we got to tune them into who that person is. But absolutely, that has always been. And this whole week, I've been talking about living above the situation. So
Mhm.
I purposely have chosen to not do the intake of the lower vibrational energy of politics. I know the stock market. Listen, but here's a great thing I've learned about this. I am not my stock market or my credit score. I am
Yeah.
not my credit score. And my credit score right now is pretty dang high. And I've been
Wow.
doing the work. I've been doing the work. I've been paying off them credit cards. Um, but even in the good space, when the stock market is rolling, I mean, it's deceptive. You're going, no, listen, look at me. Get down with your bad self. And it's, you know, what I'm saying?
Right? And the thing is that there will always be turbulence in life. And so if we are riding every single wave, we're going to exhaust for the rest
Ooh,
of our lives.
say that again. I like the way you say exhaust.
Right? It's like
Exhaust. You sound all tired.
right.
Exhaust.
It's just it's like I can't. I want to use my energy in different ways, right? I don't want to
Yes.
I don't want to deplete my energy or, deplete my battery because of everything that's going on, because it never stops.
It doesn't stop. It is always. I had, and shout out to, I'm not going to mention, but I used to remember Enlightened Heart. Back
Yeah.
in the day, we would go to our Orange County, and I think we did our internships together. Enlightened Heart is a
Hmm.
spiritual community that was in the Orange County area, and both Cynthia and I did our ministerial internships there. And a member from Enlightened Heart called me last night, or actually texted me around 9 o'clock, and I went, okay, so let me just, and she just needed prayer.
Hmm.
I dropped in and I said, okay, let me just do this. This is what we do. What we do. I wanted to go, it's a boundary and you're crossing it because I was in bed, child. Trust. I was in bed sleeping. And I then Spirit just and just go ahead and do it. And I did, and I got on. It was a great prayer. We had a great time talking and catching up, and just saying, "Here's what I do know: knowing the truth together, and knowing the truth together." Here's the thing, and I hung up the phone. And I'm going, "Well, she doesn't stop because you in bed.
No,
You know, it doesn't stop." But there is this space of creating boundaries.
there is. And that's important.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking up spiritual significance of the pinched nerve that I have going on in my body,
Mm.
it was talking about times when I have not implemented boundaries, and it was speaking to love that has been withheld, and perhaps it's been when I've been withholding love from myself because I'm
Ooh,
pushing too hard.
ooh. So did you find that in, is it Louise Hayes' book that you
Yeah.
do? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, she's so dope. I love her. One of our friends is Dr. David Alt, and
Mhm.
he's going to be here for my installation coming up at the end of the month. And he worked with Louise Hayes for years. He sang, he wrote music. He was on the inception of Hay House. I mean, he was one of Louise Hayes's students.
Mhm.
I love that book. I love the book. And one of the things, though, and this is going to be very controversial, so y'all can write in. You can drop in the feed. Boom. One of the things that I'm looking at whenever I go to, this is a whole nother show. So this is a preview for maybe next week's show.
Mhm.
When we start to identify these areas in our life that is causing certain things, like cause and effect, which is it's an older paradigm, it's still part of it,
Mhm.
versus the law of emergence.
Mhm.
Where is that balance for you, Rev? I mean, because we've heard teachers talk about this, that when we are constantly looking for a reason
Mhm.
for our dis-ease in our body, we're missing the opportunity to see what is the lesson that's seeking to emerge. And this is supposed to be the light time. We're dropping into teaching already. This is supposed to be like, how you feeling, boo? How you feeling, boo? But let's talk about your pinched nerve, boo.
Right? So first of all, when anything is going on in this area, right,
Yeah,
it's possible that it's connected to the throat, and it's also possible that it's connected to our heart chakra.
preach.
And so I feel that as part of the emergence part of this experience is, child, you are not speaking enough. Take the break off. Get out there and do what you came here to do. It's like,
I love it. See, that's a lesson you learned though, because you didn't sit there and going, "Oh, I'm having this because you got the lesson." You went, "Okay, I'm supposed to be out there speaking more."
right? It's like, stop holding back, right? Stop trying to constrict
Ooh,
yourself. It's like,
ooh,
expand
ooh.
yourself. Allow the expanding, the emergence that is trying to happen.
Yes, absolutely. You know, one thing, it's like because I've had two back surgeries,
Hmm.
and every time I've sat there going, okay, where, and I went to Louise Hayes' books, and everyone says you're not feeling supported in your back, and those are the most supported times I have ever been, and I had those back surgeries.
Wow.
But the truth was, I just overworked. But
Yes.
the lesson, the bigger lesson, and we're talking about, this is a good segue moving into this. I am a, I am a recovering addict of workaholicism.
Yes.
That's not even a word. I just made that up. Workaholicism. You know how we do. We
I
just
understand. And I
We just make stuff up. Alcoholicism or workaholicism. I don't know.
so before we jump into that segment, what has been the highlight of your week?
I think my highlight of the week was, I think I mentioned last week I went out dancing and it was just so good. It was just so joyful. Another highlight of my week has really simply been preparing for the installation that's coming up
Mhm.
on it's April 27th. And before we got on, I told until I said to Reverend Cynthia, it's August 27th. She says, "Did you move it?" I went, "No, I said April." Said, "No, you did. You said August." Okay. It is April 22nd at April 27th at North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. So that's been joy of planning it because Dr. Sidney, my spiritual leader, says, "Well, you plan it. What do you want?" And we support it. So it's been going into meditation and prayer and asking, how do I want to make this announcement of it's a marriage?
Mhm.
We are marrying to our church, y'all. It's a marriage. So
Mhm.
how do I want to show up in this world and say I'm a part of this community? So that's been the highlight of creating what this event's going to be like. It's been a beautiful, beautiful experience. Also working with David Alt and working with Dr. Sidney Steen, and it's just been beautiful. So the highlight of, believe it or not, the highlight of my week has been working.
Working, and I want to say that beneath it there is the experience of being supported and loved.
Mm,
So if that was ever
yeah.
an issue, that is being ratified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have some viewers on. We have Denise, one of our members at North Hollywood Church. Hey, Denise. And Colleen is on, y'all. Everyone, hey, and Colleen's from the North Hollywood Church as well.
Wow.
I love my peeps. I love they show up. They show up and they support. And we do an incredible thing called the Wednesday Wake Up on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we get to have fun. We get to sing. We get to dance. And, this, it's just a beautiful experience. It is a service that I get to lead. I get to create. I get to, with God and our members. It's just, I've been so fulfilled from the Wednesday wake up, and then we have Sunday as well. So community has truly, truly filled me. And let's see, yeah, Catherine's on there as well. Hey, Catherine. Hey, y'all. Good to see you. Good to see all these people.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
Rev,
you for being here.
what has been the highlight? What has been the vibe for you this week? What has been your highlight?
So this remember I told you I was going to like a health expo, and
With the aliens, with the aliens.
and it turned out to be like a combination of health and
Yeah.
avian expo. And there was very few people, and I'm assuming that that was because it wasn't advertised or marketed, you know, as much as it should have been. But it gave us a chance to experience all of these new technologies.
Mm,
So I got a ton of treatments while I was there.
yeah.
Um, and I even bought one of those saunas where your head sticks out of it and it has
You
like,
have a sauna already. You have a one-person sauna. Now you have a head sauna.
no, well, now it's like one of those. This one is called far infrared
Ooh.
technology, and it
Mhm.
actually has like a radiator and a motor inside of it. And so the heat that it puts out is supposed to penetrate very deeply. So I got me one of those. I got me
I can't wait to come to Vegas and visit you because I want to see all the gadgets that you have. And your husband Jesse, he's like, I don't fit in that one-person sauna. And what did you say to him?
I was like, we're not supposed to be.
That's cold-blooded. I love it. You are so direct. Yeah, you're not supposed to be in here, boo. This is my sauna.
Oh my god, we have to take turns. But you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
So I put it in my bathroom for right now while we make space for it in the garage.
Right.
And I in the middle of the night, I guess the cat got in it and he stuck his head through the hole on top. So it looked like the cat was getting a sauna.
Oh my God. I love it. I love that. We talked about the red infrared light that comes out of that.
Yes.
And I realized that's the same infrared light that is used in a lot of heated yoga classes.
Hmm.
Because it gets warm. I teach a heated yoga class Thursdays at Equinox at Encino, Thursday morning at 6:30. And
Okay.
I'd be walking, especially right now, it's been so cold, and I can't wait to get into the heated yoga class, turn on the heat. And there is this healing effect that after the class, your body's going, it's feeling really good.
Mhm.
My body's starting to feel good. It
Yeah,
is the infrared that is healing us.
it gets rid of inflammation, right? And
Yes.
Denise is saying you live in Vegas, that's its own sauna, and you are correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's why I have it right now, that new one, that's why it's in the house, because there has to be, like, AC while I'm sitting in there sweating. There has to.
See, listen, okay, I'm gonna since you told to yourself, I'm telling myself.
Uh-huh,
Yesterday, I am driving because it was a beautiful day. I took the top off my Jeep and the sun was blaring in. I was like, wait a minute, I ain't closing the top. I'm turning on the air conditioner. So I'm driving with the top off in the air. It's blaring. I know. I
right?
know. Right. We just tell it on ourselves. I love it.
There are just certain things that we become accustomed to.
I always say this. Listen, I am spiritual, but there's a bouginess about me as well. There's a
Yeah,
little bouginess that's going on as well. Oh my goodness. Sis, you are so much fun to be with every week. And thank you for saying yes. So we want to take this energy into what we're talking about today. We're talking about addiction.
mhm,
And which here's the thing I want to say right now. Both of us, that is not our area of expertise. We come from a spiritual mind as a spiritual counselors, as practitioners. We always know that the issue is always feeling separate from our divine self. So
mhm,
our approach to what we're going to talk about is how do we close this gap and how do we close the seemingly gap? Because it's not really a gap. How do we overcome and really know that the answer is always being completely connected with our higher self? And I want to say this in before we jump into this, we have to look at this as addiction is not just substance. There are so many ways that we are addicted to. Like I said, I'm addicted to working. I love teaching classes. I love being out there. I love speaking. I don't know if it's an addiction, but my work ethic is pretty high.
mhm.
But I also know that there are other things. Like I always say this, I don't need another pair of black jeans from Amazon ever again.
Yep.
And the great thing about this is I literally gave away a lot during the fires. I emptied out most of my, I had so many clothes. I moved back from Florida with I had to give so much clothes. So I know where my addiction, where I'm not even saying my addiction, the experience of addiction can rise up
Mhm,
is in my spending, is in this idea of sometimes relationships,
mhm.
wanting to even in food, and I'm a fitness person, and sometimes I'm just eating because I just love to eat.
Yeah.
I love to eat. There's been moments where alcohol has been part of the issue for me, but I realized it wasn't the alcohol. It's always my thinking and my willingness not to tap into my divine source.
Wow, Skip. So I agree. There's just so many things. I even heard somebody talking about our addiction to our smartphones and how
Oh,
we experience withdrawal symptoms when we're asked to put our phones away. Mhm.
I've gone through that as well.
There's just so many things, right? So not it's not just about substance
Yeah,
addiction, but like you said, habits, even perhaps stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves.
yeah. And also, too, here's the thing that I truly believe that we're addicted to the news. We're addicted to negative energy that comes in because that's all we've known. It's so interesting. If we look at social media, Rev,
Mhm.
The social media that trends are the ones that are negative, low vibrational arguments, people
Mhm.
having conflicts. Those are the ones that people love.
Yeah.
That's a part of the addiction. We're addicted to
Mhm.
this negative, low vibrational energy.
Yeah. I was thinking back because they're right? People are addicted to drama,
Drama, child, drama,
right? And as
drama.
we say that we're not, but the slightest little thing, like you said, whether it's watching drama unfold or whether somebody wants to argue with us, we are quick to pull the trigger, right?
Ooh,
And engage at times.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I
You
think
know
that.
what? That's a good point. As I'm being all bougie and driving with my air on with the top down yesterday, and
Mm,
I don't do that on the highway. I do that. I take the surface roads because traffic going from North Hollywood to Culver City can be a little bit of challenge. And this woman was in front of me, and she was driving very very slow. And I
mhm.
just found myself, and I knew we were talking about addiction. I found myself just getting, and I wondered, and I went, I had to take a moment to breathe and
Mhm.
go, stop, be still. Understand you're tapping into the ego addicted mind that this person needs to be driving the way I need to drive. And that is also a part of the addiction.
Yeah, there's just so many things. And Denise is saying, God is so right on time. I'm starting a part time job at a recovery center. Their philosophy is whatever you use to bypass pain or seeking your validation outside of yourself is our addiction, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Denise, for that. For sure. For sure. And y'all, please drop some comments into the feed. This is a connective experience. We want you to hear what's on your mind and what's happening. And then Catherine is also saying this. That is wonderful. That is wonderful, Denise. Sounds like the perfect job for you. I agree 100%. Denise, you are such a rock star. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you, family, for being on here. Another thing that we're going to talk about too, have you heard the term the midways?
No, you want to explain that to us?
Yeah, here's I love this term because in studying when addiction really rises up, where
Mm,
we begin to really sabotage ourselves with substances, with checking out with food, with finding someone to just have intimacy with. And I'm saying this is not a wrong or right. We're not
mhm.
saying this is bad or good. It's not a duality. It's an experience that we experience. Do you know where it mostly comes up?
Where?
We're in the midway from in our transformation.
Hmm.
When there's a new job that's coming up or a new role that you're getting as an actor or you're getting this new opportunity, we have a sense of sabotaging ourselves.
Yes.
That's called the midways. And that's where our experience of addiction has a tendency to rise up. Now, we can either react and go into checking out, like Denise was talking about,
Hmm.
or we can go inward to do the spiritual work to help us to get through this time of transition.
You know what else I was listening? I was watching a couple of videos on this topic, and there was an experiment that was conducted with rats. And they provided one water bottle that had pure water and one water bottle that had cocaine in it. And when they had the rat by itself, when it had nothing, no one to nothing to interact with, it would
Mm,
go for the water bottle with the cocaine and kill itself very quickly. But when they created like a mouse park where there were other mice to interact with, and there were
mhm,
mazes for it to go through, and there was plenty of cheese for it to eat, it always chose the water bottle that had the purity in it. So, what they're starting to realize is that we as human beings, when we have purpose in our life, when we have
mm,
meaningful connections and
yeah,
relationships, we will turn less towards the substances, the distractions, the
that's
addiction.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is always and I talked about this on Wednesday. Living above the situation, situations, circumstances, and conditions are always the same. They fleeting. So it could be with your body, could be with your health, it could be with your money and finances. And the answer to all that, to live above the situation, is to tap into God,
Mm-hmm.
tap into the universe. So what I'm hearing is that when we're productive, what you're saying, Rev, when we're productive with our spiritual practices, that is the answer. And I also believe, listen, y'all, listen, there's a lot of people that are in treatment. Yes. Yes. There are people that are in program, they're in AA. Yes. They're in NA. Yes. Do what it is supposed to do. I'm saying that these are forms of spiritual practices as well. When you
Absolutely.
have your therapist and your practitioner, these are all the things that help you. So I'm not saying that one thing's right, one thing's not right. I'm saying it's available for us so we can relieve some of this doubt, fear, and worry that we're not worthy, or we're not going to get this, we're not good enough. Here comes the addiction of the mind.
Right. One of the reasons why there is addiction is usually there's trauma.
Mm,
And then there's usually shame around the trauma that somebody has experienced. And so they're looking to anesthetize, right, to numb that pain.
yeah.
And we tend to, I think, judge or incarcerate or punish people in some way instead of, you know, telling them that they are worthy and that they are still loved
Yeah.
and nurturing them back to health.
I love Brene Brown. We talk about Brene Brown all the time, and she's a researcher, and she's done a lot of research on addiction. She's
Hmm.
had her own issues with her addictions, and it's in all her books. So I'm not sharing anything that's not out there already.
Hmm.
And she talked about this. One of the common things that we do when we're experiencing addiction in the middle of addiction is we shame ourselves, and
Hmm.
that continues to drop the vibration, drop the vibration, drop the vibration. We go lower and lower and lower until we're willing to stop shaming ourselves to rise up.
Hmm.
Do we ever get beyond? And I don't know if we actually get beyond the addiction, but I know that we have the tools to deal with it no matter what it is.
I know for me when I arrived at agape because I struggled with addiction over the years, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I was walking, I think, into the sanctuary, and as I was discovering my oneness with God, that was new to me. Uh,
Mm,
from a Catholic background where I thought that I was separate from God, and as I started allowing this to be true, to allow myself to believe it, I realized that the void that I was seeking to fill or numb with the addiction could only be filled by one thing, and that was by God and discovering who I truly am.
mm.
And I
What was
wonder
your Oh, God, I'm sorry.
and I wondered if it's the same for everybody that's addicted, that
Uh,
they're looking to fill that void with themselves.
There is this term, and I know you know it, and we say it all the time. It's an inside job.
Mhm.
There's another term that I've heard in from other people that are in program. It says that we're trying to fill a God hole with other substances.
Exactly.
And for me, I mean, that's a little bit more. I realize that there is no hole in God. God is the wholeness of it all.
Mhm.
But when we don't understand that or connect with that, we're looking for something to fulfill us, to make
Mm,
us feel whole.
mhm. Right? To or at least to stop the pain if there's pain present,
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's emotional or physical. Um,
absolutely. And one of the other things too, I realize, and sometimes, and listen, I have never seen a bag of potato chips I didn't love.
mhm,
I love potato chips. I could eat potato chips all day long. I can sit and eat potato chips in my car, in my bedroom. And there is this thing that I go when I walk down in the supermarket and I fight going down the potato chip aisle. Am I going to buy potato chips? Am I going to buy potato chips? So then you put into practice, okay, I don't go down the potato chip aisle anymore. And that doesn't say I don't have a potato chip here and there once in a while. Maybe I'm out or whatever, and there's a potato chip. Maybe I'm having a sandwich, but I'm not constantly bringing it into my space.
Yeah.
And I know some people think, oh, potato chips, skip that. No, 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 no. No, it's anything else that you don't want to, there are things that we have to shift in our life. There are things that we have to tackle. So instead of the potato chips, I'm more fresh fruits, more, because I still love to eat. I
Mm-hmm.
still love to eat. But I'm saying there's things that we have to look at. What is in our life that we could be using to check out? And the pandemic was very clear about me. In the pandemic, I ate everything. I gained 25 pounds. I went to Florida. I gained, I mean, I was so, and now I'm really starting to drop back into my body weight, but I feel good. But
Mm-hmm.
I was addicted to a lot of different things that shifted how I felt in my body and how I viewed my body.
Wow. Denise has a question.
Okay, what's your question, Denise? Let's hear it.
So it says
Mm.
for you both about spiritual addiction or spiritual bypass. I question sometimes if I'm visioning beyond where there is the thing I don't like. Denise, say more. Say more.
Yeah, drop in a little bit more. Here's what I'm hearing.
Uh-huh.
First of all, let's explain this before we go on our break. A spiritual bypass is when we're not dealing with the problem and we
Mm-hmm.
go directly to God is all that there is. Now, there is this addictive mindset, I believe, that we will not really, we don't want to feel the pain. And sometimes to deal with the issue, we got to go into it, dissect it, feel it, and you got to go, oh, wow, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very, very, very uncomfortable, but it's required for true healing to begin. Because if you don't deal with it and you mask it and you go to God is all there is, it will come up again. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that that is a quick fix answer, and it never really gets to the core of the work that we do in shadow work. And I'm a shadow worker. I love getting deep into. I can be triggered, and in that moment, I'm going, okay, let's go deep. Where did I first feel this? Okay, what am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling not good enough because of this situation. I feel like I don't deserve this. Where did this come from? Oh, I had this conversation with the teacher. I remember now, when did I first feel this? It takes a lot of exploration, sometimes years of exploration to get to the root of a problem and to go directly to God is all that there is without really understanding the process of getting there. I believe there is a spiritual addiction to that. I don't know if I want to call it the spiritual addiction. I believe it's just not knowing the truth. What do you want to say to that, Rev?
So what I want to say is that I want to say all roads lead to God.
Mm,
And one of them can be addiction, right? Everything is designed to bring us back home to the truth.
absolutely.
So if we're
Absolutely.
so if we're avoiding experiencing and feeling everything that is there to be felt and everything that is there to be experienced, it's almost like we're stopping at a roadblock to the destination. We're preventing ourselves from arriving at what we came here to discover about God, about ourselves. So
Mm,
can we begin to release the shame around any of the addiction? Realize that this is probably part of the blueprint of the overall plan of how you orchestrated or designed how you were going to remember the truth of who you truly are.
absolutely. And this is a really beautiful comment you just put in there, Janice. Denise puts in the comment, that's it. She's agreeing with what I was saying because a lot of the times on my spiritual vibration about the world, how things are, I then realize that I'm just super sad about it and I am bypassing the spirituality. So here's what's happening. I'm gonna take what the good Dr. Reverend Cynthia just said and place it into this space. Um, we have a tendency not to really have a hard look at what's happening with our government, what's
Mhm.
happening with our world, with the marginalization. It's easy to go, yeah, maybe those trans people shouldn't have the freedoms, and maybe it's okay to remove any LGBT out of the government. And sometimes we go through a bypass going, well, maybe it is right. And I might not agree with it, but I'm not going to say anything because we're just like Just bypass it and not deal with it. There's
Mhm.
other spiritual minded people who understand that God is all that there is, but are choosing not to tap into the realness of what is happening. And
Mhm.
until we really feel this with the empathetic heart and a sympathetic mind, will we ever get to a place of compassion? Where will ever actually work? If we're not willing to be sympathetic and empathy, we will never get to a place of full compassion where we get up to make a difference. And your difference, Denise, might be praying. It might be going out, like 4 million people went out this week to
Mhm.
protest. And it wasn't even a protest, I'm going to call it a love rally. They were
Mhm.
standing up for something, and not one police incident.
Wow.
So there is this way that we can approach this world vibration with prayer, meditation, and not do a spiritual bypass and
Mhm.
not say it's not happening. When I
Mhm.
started off this conversation saying that I'm like, oh, I don't watch the news, it doesn't mean I don't know what's happening.
Mhm.
And as soon as I hear, did you hear? I realize, oh, it's time for me to pray. So, yes, let me know what's going on. Hey, Rev, we got to take a break here. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about spiritual practices to help us get through the midways and help us get through our breakthroughs. And this has been a really rich conversation. You said it was going to be really rich. You said it was going to be a good conversation. It is for sure. We'll be right back, folks. Hey everyone, welcome back to the New Thought Media Network, right here at the High Vibe Hour with myself, Reverend Cynthia. I'm Reverend Skip. We're just having a deep, beautiful, loving, authentic, honest conversation about addiction. And again, we're talking about beyond what we categorize addiction to be. It's anything that we choose to check out from. And one thing I want to ask, because I love stories and we're both storytellers, do you remember the first time that you realized that you were dealing with an addiction, Rev?
I'm 15 years old. My mom was a drug dealer.
Every time you say that, I know this story, and every time you say it, I'm like, say more,
And the
say
first time
more.
she asked me to deliver drugs to a client, and I had never tried drugs at that time, but on my way to deliver them for her, I was a chunky teenager and I decided to taste what was in the package. And I noticed that it took the hunger away. It was cocaine. And so then I started using cocaine at 15, right? And
Mm,
I lost like 40 pounds in like a month and no one said anything. No one said,
mm. Wow,
so that was my first.
wow, that was the first time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And you? Did you
yeah.
can
My first real like addiction was sugar.
Oh, okay.
Sugar was my, and I when I realized, I go, yeah, I love this. I love me some sugar. I was on the diving team in high school, my freshman year in high school, and someone said you should dive because I was gymnastic. I was a dancer. I moved and I tried diving, and I
Mhm,
also realized, because when you're athlete in high school, it's like sugar's your jam, and I
mhm.
realized I was getting this incredible freaking rush. I would eat like 3 or 4 candy bars before we even went to practice. Back in
Wow.
the day, they were not health bars, they were candy bars. And I would get, oh, and I realized I loved the high of it all. And then I realized too, halfway through the day after practice and we were in classes, I would be falling asleep.
I've heard that
And
sugar is
then
more addictive than drugs.
And then you know what happens, Rev?
Uh-huh.
After you've fallen asleep, you get in the hallway, you go to your locker, you get a couple of another 2 candy bars, drop it in, and you just keep going to the end of the day.
Wow.
My next addiction that I realized was, and I still not really addicted, I have a limit now,
Mhm.
but my coffee.
Oh, I know.
Mm,
Still addicted to coffee.
my coffee. I used to. This is no lie. In at Starbucks, I should have had some stocks in Starbucks.
Mhm.
At one time, I would have, and I still know my coffee order, a triple vanilla latte with oat milk, but didn't have oat milk at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and I would have like at least 3 of those throughout the day, a triple.
Oh my god, Skip, I don't know
So
if I still
I
breathe.
don't know. I'm still here, but I am now limited. There's a part of I don't have coffee after I'd say like 10 o'clock. This is it. Boom. And I had
Mhm.
to really work on that because in the middle of the day, I'm just like going, well, I need my little boost. Let me go to Starbucks. I'm going no, or and I'm trying not to go to Starbucks anymore. I make my coffee at home, but I love that ceremony. So what I've done is I made coffee a ceremony. In the morning, I go in the kitchen. Normally, I'm up by myself. I'll go in the kitchen. I'll start my coffee. I'm praying for the day. I'm reading Ernest Holmes. I'm sitting down. I'm having my ceremony around the coffee, thanking God for the coffee beans. Coffee I'm drinking today is from Guatemala. So I'm sending some love out to the Guatemalan people. I know I didn't say that right. I just butchered their names. Is it Guatemalans? I did.
Guatemalans.
Okay. I,
Guatemalans.
I can butcher a name, child. That's my gift. I'm sending some prayers to the folks in Guatemala and some beans, and I'm saying thank
Mhm.
you. So I've created more of a ceremony around the practice of bringing coffee into my body.
Mhm.
Those are my first two real realization of the meaning of addiction because I wanted more. I
Right?
wanted more and more.
So I love that. So you're converting it into a ceremony. You're bringing presence to it. You're honoring what it is that you are consuming. You're blessing the individuals that you're getting it from. Like making it secret, right? If
Yeah.
it's going to be a part of your life, it's like make everything secret,
Right.
right?
Right.
I love that.
So
But
we're talking about midways. Midways are very, very important. Do you remember a time? I can tell you, there's been times, and the biggest midway is for me has been the Dark Night of the Soul.
Mhm.
Dark Night of the Soul talks about Dark Night of the Soul comes on when you're in the middle of your transformation. You know what you're wanting to transform to, and you look behind you and say, okay, that's not me any longer. I'm in
Mhm.
the middle and I'm feeling alone. And I feel like I'm in the midways.
Mhm.
And that's the time when you feel alone where you kind of connect and you're the addictions are rising up. You're going, okay, is there a time or can you recall a midway point in your life
Mhm.
where you possibly tapped into addiction and you overcame it in certain ways?
It's interesting because 2018 there was still so much trauma that I had not yet began to heal. It's like I had done a lot of work at Agape
Right.
in practitioner studies, but I had only scratched the surface of the amount of trauma that was present. And because I worked for a law firm for almost 30 years, it was very common for us to go out for happy hour to de stress over the years.
Mm,
And one day, And then because of the pain that I was physically in all of the time because of the autoimmune condition, um, I had started like drinking wine regularly in the evenings. And at one point, it became a crutch, and I found myself in the middle of alcoholism before I knew it,
Mm,
right? Like between 2018 and 2020. And it wasn't until you came along and I think you encouraged me to like come to Enlightened Heart. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to drink because I have to go over here and I have to go. So you were part of what began my healing of coming out of alcoholism.
wow. Wow, that's very, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Right? You
Wow.
gave me a
I'm
sense of
honored.
purpose.
My heart is open. Wow. Wow.
It's like,
Those moments are very important to remember those moments. I do remember it. Same kind of a little bit different, but same circumstance. Right before graduating from practitioner training,
mhm,
I knew where I was going. I'm on the road to ministry at that point. I'm going, I know I'm going to be a minister, but let's do the practitioner thing first because that's how we do it.
mhm,
So my mind was focused. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And with everything that was going on, I remember we're in prac one. And I remember because I wasn't quite a practitioner yet and I was a minister, I decided, okay, I'm going to throw myself into, and this is all coming back to me now. I'm getting very clear of what that was. In the
mhm.
midway of becoming a practitioner, I'm still a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, but not really. I'm knowing that's not really who I am. I am a practitioner. I'm an agape practitioner without the license yet. I'm a minister. I still haven't gone through ministerial school. So for me, I dove deeper into teaching more and more yoga, more group fitness. At one point, I was teaching 30 classes a week,
Mhm,
and I was addicted to that feeling, oh, this is my purpose, this is what I got to do right here. And guess what?
mhm,
Came on the first back surgery. And I
mhm.
remember our conversations, if we do not self correct or if we do not stop doing what we're doing, hurting ourselves, the body has a way of self correcting itself. And it
Yes.
did. I had, slip disc and I had little disc forming because of all the pressure and years of group fitness. I had to have a laminectomy and discectomy. And
Mhm.
then at that point, I realized, oh, we got to shift. We got to shift.
My goodness. It's like, what does he say, Reverend Michael? The pain pushes, so the vision pulls?
Yeah, yeah. I love what you said earlier. You said that all roads lead to God, which is
All
true.
of them. All of them.
I learned my biggest lessons in the midst of any form of it, the experience of addiction, and I really have to be mindful of really understanding that I am not this addiction. Who is my true nature?
Mhm.
I am God. God in the flesh. God, and so are you. And I'm not only God, I am God as a representation of love. That's my true nature. So using that word, my addiction, or using that word, I am this, or I am that, other side, outside of, how do you feel about that, Rev?
It's so interesting because I love the work of AA and NA, but I do not agree with the practice of people having to state forever, I am an addict,
Mm,
right? Like they say
mm,
their name and then they add, I am an addict, because I believe in the power of the words I am, right? And how powerful it is. What follows that, how powerful it is for us to create, not even to create, to reveal the truth of who we are. Right?
yeah.
So, what was your question? How do I
Yeah, yeah,
feel?
but you just answered it. But you just answered it. What comes to mind for this is I'm learning, and I watch myself sometimes talk about this. We have a tendency to talk about my bad back, my
Mhm,
bad knees, and it's easier for us to go beyond that, my bad this, my bad that, to I'm whole, complete.
mhm,
That's my true nature. It
mhm.
requires spiritual work. It requires the spiritual work to get from that point, from the experience, the condition, the circumstance.
Yeah, especially if somebody is in pain or they're experiencing a disease and it's like and they come to us for prayer, and all we're talking about is their wholeness. I almost feel that they must think like, did they hear a word I said? You know?
I love this because we both, we're so in sync with the work we do because you're teaching prac one, I'm teaching prac two.
Mhm.
Practitioner, for all the listeners and all the viewers, practitioners are the healing hands of our community. It's those who choose to practice in the New Thought community, those who pray. That's what we do. And we go through years and years and years and years of study to become a licensed spiritual practitioner.
Mhm.
Um, Reverend Cynthia teaches prac one, I teach prac two. And I was saying to, and this is very interesting, we're talking about because prac two, you get down with the get down, like, okay, what are the tools to really be in counseling? And do you remember our conversations in prac two? And I learned this from Reverend Kathy
Mhm.
McNamara, and she said, "You're sitting there, they're telling you all your problems, all their problems, and what you're doing is you are knowing the principle of the
Yes.
truth of their problems." And I remember she gave us this tool of you have what we call the spiritual post-it note.
Uh-huh.
No, it's called the cosmic post-it note. You just remember, okay, if they're talking about, well, I ain't got no money, your spiritual post-it note is going to be abundance, prosperity, and infinite possibilities. They come
Mhm.
to you and saying, I need some prayer on my back and my knees. You're thinking wholeness,
Mhm.
divine health, the
Mhm.
fullness. You are listening, but you're hearing the truth because we can't dive into the level of the problem or the addiction and hold space. I don't think two things can simultaneously do that, you know?
Well, and here's the thing. I think one of the reasons why people like you and I and people that are here, like Denise that is going to work at a recovery center, um, I don't know that Denise has ever had an issue with any kind of an addiction. But I heard a long time ago that God uses every experience that we go through, that it doesn't let anything go to waste.
Hello.
So, because of the experiences that we have all had, we're able to be compassionate towards somebody that is walking through something similar. Even though we know the truth and we state the truth, there's a simultaneous, like, open-heartedness and ability to hold somebody because we know the difficulty of the challenge. This is
Mhm.
how God uses everything that we have walked through.
Denise says practitioners are like spiritual sponsors.
Exactly. Exactly.
We'll hold the truth for you. We will hold the truth
Mhm.
for you.
And it could,
Um,
while being compassionate, right?
let's talk about breakthroughs though, which I really believe. I don't believe in breakdowns. I believe in breakthroughs. We're
Mhm.
breaking through, and people are saying, "How do we break through? What tools do we have to really have a full breakthrough?" What is one of the spiritual tools that you use to have your breakthrough when you're in the midways, when you're going through the experience of addiction? What are your go-to tools for this?
So for me, there's a practice called truth telling. So I name the addiction with compassion, right? I can't
Mm,
address something until I acknowledge it.
mhm.
So like this level of honesty. And so the practice is this. Um, I ground, right? I come into my
Yeah.
body, I come into my heart.
Mhm.
And then the second step is I compassionately ask, what do I reach for when I'm afraid or disconnected?
Mm,
And what am I using to avoid being with myself? Right? That's step number two. Step number three is I name it out loud or I write it down. So I'll write down, I am addicted to dot, dot, dot. It can be comfort, it can be chaos, it can be control, judgment, perfectionism, you name it, right? There's so many things that we can be addicted to. Step number four is then offer compassion to yourself. I learned this because I was trying to stay safe, or
mhm.
I see myself and I forgive myself and I choose differently now, is step four. And then step five is I write down these affirmations. I speak the truth with love. I meet my shadow with compassion. I choose freedom over familiar pain. I am healing. I am
Mhm.
whole. I am enough. So I have this 5-step process that I go to be radically honest with myself while holding myself compassionately and giving myself what I need to implement the shift.
Yeah. Mm, that's beautiful.
And how,
Absolutely beautiful. Well, I believe very similar to what you're talking about. So the process of, because we're constantly in transformation, we're
Mhm,
constantly evolving because this is how the universe works. The universe is always expanding. We are always in that space of transformation. And when I know that I'm in the process of a big transformation, I'm going to use, and I've been talking a lot about this. And so if you've heard this before, people online and those who know me, I talk about the biggest transformation I've ever had was going to Florida
mhm.
and being in Florida, and I was in a dark night of the soul. I was in the probably the biggest dark night of the soul for the longest time, and I was miserable, depressed so much I didn't even want to be alive anymore. And I
Wow.
went through the process, and what got me through the idea was recognizing I'm in a space that is no longer serving the vision,
Mhm.
knowing that there is another space for me, but it just hasn't been revealed yet. There is a place for me humbling myself and asking God, show me, because I
Mm.
don't know. I don't have the answer. I just don't want to be here anymore. What is the answer? It was humility that saved me.
Wow.
And it was the whole point of I don't know how to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm
Mm.
like, and I had to really take that approach of humility. God, show me.
I love that it sounds like rock bottom.
Yeah, well, hello. There we all, yeah, there you go. It does, right? So, what is your vibe insight for today? What are you taking away from this conversation?
That there cannot be enough gentleness as we move through this human experience.
Mm,
Because boy,
mm,
can I be hard on myself.
ooh. Oh, I'm going to take that in just for a moment. And my vibe insight for this week, I go back to something we haven't mentioned his name in a long time. Do you remember Panache Desai?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to say something all the time, and it pops it up into my consciousness whenever I need to know this. Our humanity is a gateway to our divinity.
Absolutely.
Our gateway, our humanity is our gateway to our divinity. And I believe the conditions that we are experiencing in this human incarnation, because
Mhm.
I believe we're having a spiritual experience. We're not having a human experience. This is my belief. We're having a spiritual experience. The incarnation brings up these invitations for us to rise up and to grow.
Right? You cannot access your divinity unless you become fully human. That's the
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. Next week, I mean, I know we're doing something very special next week because we're going to do a interview with our friend Cricket Matherson in Bali.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to have him talk about the Bali trip that's coming up with you in July 13th and 24th. Are you excited?
I am so excited. I'm like working on this body. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
gonna carry me up that mountain.
There it is. So next week, y'all, Cricket Matheson, we're gonna record it, pre-record it, drop it in because he's in Bali. That's like 19 hours. It's a whole different time zone. So we're gonna be recording that over the weekend. We'll be showing that next week. If you're interested in going to the Bali trip, how can people find you, Rev?
That's right there on the website, cynthiaambries.org. And there's a section for the Bali retreat.
Absolutely. And if you can't go in July, I'm going next year, March 2026. We're going to Bali again. That's going to be for the Nippy celebration that's in Bali. So we have two opportunities. We're both doing Bali trips. You're
Mm.
doing yours in July. I'm doing mine in March of next year. So you can go to my website, skipjennings.com, and find out how you can drop into finding more about the Bali trip in March of next year. So we're doing great things here at the High Vibe Hour. And
Mhm.
folks, remember a couple things really quickly. We are on the New Thought Media Network. And if you're interested in supporting this community, we ask you to go to ntmedia right here, right now.org to donate to keep this ministry growing and moving and forward and inspiring others, you can reach me on PayPal if you want to do a donation towards, my ministry. I'm at Skip Jennings on PayPal. Oh, no, it's skip@skipjennings.com on PayPal. What's yours?
My PayPal is my email address, cindy.ambrose@gmail.com.
And you are also the assistant minister where?
At Las Vegas Centers for Spiritual Living. If you're in the Las Vegas area, we're going to be having a health and wellness expo April 19th, which is a Saturday, the Saturday before Easter. We're going to have a lot of healers or healing modalities available. So come on, it's free.
Well, that's coming up really soon.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And y'all, I'm at the North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. You go to nhcrs to find out more information about our Sunday services and the Wednesday wake up, and also my installation that's coming up. And I almost said August again. It is April 27th at 4 o'clock at North Hollywood Church of Religious Science. It will also be broadcast through YouTube and also Facebook. So you'll be able to see it, but I'd love to see you in person to get there, y'all. And I love the work that you and I get to do. We are like mirrors of each other. You know that? You know that, Rev? You know
I
that?
love it. I love you have no idea what an effect you have had on my life. You always
Oh,
come
you too, sis. You too. You too. We need to talk about something else that we need to experience together that we haven't done in a while. You know what I'm talking about, and then
Yeah.
we'll be able to share it with everyone else. So we'll have that conversation offline, and we'll be able to share it. So, all right. Hey, y'all. This has been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Until next week, y'all. Remember, transformation is a choice. You chose today because you showed up and said yes, 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 yes. Be kind, because kindness is free, y'all. Be kind. Until next week, peace and blessings.
Have a good one.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents The High Vibe Hour. The High Vibe Hour with Reverend Cynthia and Reverend Skip. Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on New Thought Media Network.